welcome to week 2 of 4972. So in week 2, we are moving forward with Gallagher, and we're going to read chapters 2 and 3, and I'll talk a little bit about those here in a second. And then in the second half of week 2, we're going to be pausing on Gallagher. So actually for the next several weeks, we're not going to read further in Gallagher because this next chapter, chapter 4, is about writing. So we're going to pause here and focus on reading and bring in some other things, think about some other strategies in addition to what Gallagher provides us, and do a couple activities and assignments here. So we're going to, front load with some Gallagher and then go off in some other directions here for a while. So in the second half of the week, we're going to pause and think about pre-reading strategies. So strategies that you can do with your students before you begin to read a text. So there will be a separate video lesson for the pre-reading strategies part, including a walkthrough of how to complete the toolbox assignment and talking about pre-reading strategies, what we're looking for in a good pre-reading strategy, etc. So your main goal is to read chapters 2 and 3 of Gallagher for the first half of the week, and then complete the discussion board, which will ask you to reflect on and choose some things from those 2 chapters. So I want you to think about this question in general as you go into reading chapters 2 and 3 of Gallagher. So this is sort of pre-reading, right? We're doing pre-reading for Gallagher. What type of readers do you want students to be when they leave your classroom? Gallagher has a really good sense of the big picture, right? Big picture literacy. He talks and thinks a lot about these essential literacy skills that students need. So I want you to think, what in your mind are those essential reading skills, habits, values, and perceptions that you want students to have, that you want to work on cultivating in your classroom? For example, for me as a teacher, it's really important that my writing students know that how to, organization, right? A sense of how an essay should flow. So that's sort of a skill. But I also want my writers in my composition classes to feel like they are capable of writing. So I want to increase their writing confidence, decrease their writing apprehension. So those are, habits or self-perceptions even. So you might even take a second just to jot down before you read chapters 2 and 3 of Gallagher. What are these for you? What are these skills, habits, values, and perceptions that you really highly value? And then be ready to expand upon those as you read Gallagher. Gallagher's big on summarizing, for example. That's something that you may not have thought of as being sort of key to your own reading values. So to just anticipate a little bit of what you're going to see in Gallagher's chapters 2 and 3, both of these chapters are about reading. And the way that Gallagher has organized this textbook, if you have the textbook, pull it out right now, while you're watching here, and you can sort of flip along with me. Chapter 2 is what he likes about the Common Core state standards as far as the reading standards are concerned. And then chapter 3 is what he doesn't like, or the gaps he sees, or the ways in which he sees the reading standards as limiting. And then, by the way, the writing chapters move in the same pattern. So chapter 3 is what he likes about the writing standards. Chapter 4 is he expanding upon those gaps that he sees, or what he doesn't like about the writing standards. So chapter 2, staying true to what works, is him saying what he likes about the Common Core state standards. Don't forget to review the standards. So he puts the Common Core state standards in there. You need to read those, because although Missouri opted out of the Common Core and decided to spend a lot of time and money building our own standards, they're almost exactly the same as the Common Core state standards. So even though there are a few minor differences, like for example, sometimes we combined 2 Common Core standards into one, sometimes we left out one word, sometimes we replaced a phrase with a slightly different phrase, but they're essentially the same, okay? So they do apply, even though we opted out of the Common Core because, political reasons. So do take some time to actually pause and read the standards that he includes, because they are applicable to, Missouri teaching, and you may not teach in Missouri forever or ever. So for Gallagher in chapter 2, he notices that the Common Core state standards focus on these 3 types of questions. What does the text say? So, reading comprehension. Can students notice the main idea of the text? Can they notice the important details and understand what the text says? Then what does the text do? So this is like, how does it use metaphor to create beautiful imagery? How does it create a spooky atmosphere, in something like Edgar Allan Poe? So sort of how does the author create these effective passages? Even in nonfiction, right? How does the author use rhetorical appeals to convince the audience of something? And then in the final couple standards, what does the text mean? So these are sort of like connecting to the text, synthesizing the text with other texts and things like that. So this is important because this is how he structures the rest of the chapter. Also in this chapter, Gallagher includes tons and tons of strategies. So definitely consider each of these strategies. Some of them you will love and think are awesome. Some of them you will think, oh, this doesn't seem like something that I would like to try, or this looks really messy, or I don't really get this. And that's what the reading guide for Gallagher is asking you to think of, sort of which ones are you really excited about and which ones are you confused about, which ones seem a little scary to you, and which ones seem a little less valuable to you. And you'll use that sort of choosing the ones you like the best to do your discussion board for this week. So the discussion board is due Wednesday, so that way we have a little bit of breakup in the workload. So for the discussion board, the chapter 2 part of the discussion board is going to ask you to choose one of these strategies that you really are excited about and talk about it. Chapter 3 then are where the standards fall short, the reading standards. So these are those problems he sees or the gaps that he sees. So they focus too much on this and they leave out this. So he lists several concerns with these really nicely organized headings. And what I would like for you to do, obviously read the whole chapter, right? But then prioritize or choose, right? Which of these concerns do you share in the strongest or most passionate way? So maybe you're really excited about recreational reading, or maybe you really think this or this is important. And that's what you're going to reflect on the discussion board part 2, the second paragraph. I'm asking you to choose a concern that you share and talk about that with us in the discussion board. So that's the first half of your week today. It's reading the 2 chapters. Don't forget to use those reading guides to help you anticipate and focus on the key important things that we're going to focus on for these chapters. And then the discussion board is where you will reflect and process and discuss with each other, bounce ideas off of each other, etc. So don't forget, the next video will introduce you to the second half of the week's work with talking through the importance of pre-reading strategies and also walking you through the assignment for the second half of the week. Have a good week, writers. Teachers, let me know what you need. Bye.